All right. Good morning and welcome in. Today we're going to be talking about sentences. I know, everybody's favorite subject. We're going to talk about how to compose simple sentences and then expand them using punctuation and conjunctions, right? So I know this is something that we've covered in parts before, but we're going to start small and then as a class, one by one, expand our sentences until we all have nice, robust, complex sentences. Okay? So, what I need everybody to do, take your time, take a minute, look around your space, look around your desk, see what you have around you. Just want you to pick an item. Don't have to be too complicated with it. Pick any item, could be anything. I'm going to go ahead and pick this plant right here. And that's going to be my item. You guys can pick anything that you see on your desk. You can pick a pencil, you can pick a hat, and all I want you to do is describe the item and one thing about it, okay? So take a second. I'm going to go ahead and describe my plant right here. My plant is green, so I'm just going to say, nice and simple, the plant is green. All right. Now you're going to have to excuse my bad handwriting, right? You're just going to have to trust me. That's what it says. The expo markers are not kind to me. All right. The plant is green. Okay. And it can be anything like that. You don't need to be more descriptive than that. The hat is yellow, right? The desk is heavy. Keep it simple because we're going to keep expanding from here. Okay. All right. Now, the easiest way to expand a simple sentence, the plant is green, to a more complex sentence is to add descriptors, okay? So if you have a certain kind of sentence, you could use an adverb, right? So if we remember what an adverb is changing your verb, right? So if someone is running, how are they running? Are they running slowly? Are they running quickly? That's what an adverb is. An adverb changes your verb, clarifies, and specifies what the verb is, right? Running is an easy one to think of. Running quickly, running slowly. All right. But for this sentence, there's no verb, right? There's no verb that you can modify with an adverb in this sentence. If your sentence has one, then you can go ahead and do that. But an easy way to add to this sentence is to add a descriptor, right? So what's a descriptor we could add to the plant is green? What are some other things about the plant? Well, I'd say, at least relative to my other plants, it's tall, right? Okay, so the plant is green and tall. So pick one other thing about your object and add to it. So if you chose your hat and your hat's yellow, you could say that your hat is yellow, and you can even use a subjective descriptor, right? Because the plant is only tall relative to my other plants. If you think your hat is cool, you can say that the hat is yellow and cool, right? That's still a modifier, that's still a descriptor. And it totally works to expand your sentence, because now you're explaining, see how it's more detailed? The plant is green. Okay, well, that tells me a little bit, but most plants are green, right? Now we know a little bit more about it. It's a more descriptive, more robust sentence, right? That's what we're working towards, is more complete, complex, and descriptive sentences. Now I want to take a moment and talk about this guy right here. What do we call that? Not in the context of this sentence, but when we're trying to combine two clauses or two smaller sentences, remember? Remember clauses and sentences? We want to combine them with a conjunction. Okay, so we're going to take a quick pause and talk about our friend, the conjunctions. All right. And that's a conjunction. Now, I'm going to erase the board, and I know we know this, but I want to make sure everyone knows what we're talking about when we're talking about conjunctions. All right. Does anybody remember the fanboys? Right? That's our cheat code to remember our conjunctions. What's the first one? All your fanboys. For, right? We just talked about and. And's a tricky one. And's the one I forget most. I think it's the least used one. I don't know necessarily if that's true, but I know I use it the least. But it's still a conjunction. That's nor. For and nor. B's a super useful one because if you were trying to combine two sentences, if I was saying my plant is green and tall, but it's not my favorite, right? I do love this plant, but this guy right here, that's my favorite plant, right? So now we know more about the plant, we know what we're describing, and we did that using a conjunction, right? The plant is green and tall. That's its own thought, right? Remember how we talked about combining the two thoughts with these guys? A next thought is that it's not my favorite, right? Rather than making those two sort of quick, choppy sentences, we can put them together using conjunctions, okay? So, but. The plant is green, but it's not my favorite. But you can also say, what's O? Or, right? It's the shortest fanboy. Well, it's tied. It's tied with the last one. Right? If you can guess that last one, you get a special prize. But we're going to get there in a minute, all right? So for instance, using my sentence, we can go even deeper. If I said, the plant is green and tall, we can use a period. We can even use a semicolon. I know, I'm not going to go there today. But if we're combining two thoughts, we could say, the tall green plant. See how you're combining all your descriptors. You don't need to use and. The tall green plant is not my favorite. Or my tallest plant. You can't see it, but I have a very tall plant over here. If we went outside, there's way taller plants, right? So we're still adding to the sentence. We're still adding more description, explaining more about the plant. So sometimes you can squish parts of your sentence down by getting rid of a conjunction, but adding to the second part of your sentence, right? So, the tall green plant is not my favorite, or the tallest plant. And you could even use our least recognized fanboy, nor. Sometimes nor can get a little love, right? All right. Now, what's our why? Almost through these. Yet. Yet can be another tricky one. You have to use it in a specific way. So think of a way in your sentence you could use yet. Because there's a couple different ways you can use yet. And one is a conjunction, where you're combining two sentences. And one is just a modifier, right? So if you're saying, I'm not that fast yet, that's something I might say. Because we know I'm always trying to get faster. We all know that Mr. Newton's only real hobby is running. So I'm not that fast yet. Now that's not a conjunction, right? We're still using it here, but we're not using it to combine two different thoughts, right? What's a way that we can use yet to combine two different thoughts? So let's take my plant as an example again. We're going to get really tired of the plant by the end of this, but that's okay. It's my plant. You guys don't have to deal with him. He's tall, he's green. So you can say, the tall green plant, or my green plant is tall, yet It is not the tallest plant I have. I'm going to write that down so we can see what it looks like, all right? The tall, so we still have our descriptors, the tall green plant okay, there's our guy. Oops, sorry guys. The green plant. We're saving that second part, right? The green plant is tall. There we go. That makes a little more sense, doesn't it? The green plant is tall. Now we have our conjunction. Yet. Right? So we're kind of cutting back, right? If you like football, think of it as a cutback. When you're running in one direction, and you're cutting back in the other direction. That's what these guys can do. Nor and yet. You're changing direction in the sentence because the plant is tall, but it's not the tallest plant yet. It isn't. And remember this. We're not doing this today, but what's that? Is not into isn't. That's a contraction. Right? I know I spent a long time. I got confused with conjunctions and contractions. Not because they're similar. They just sound similar. So make sure, if you're writing notes right now, which you should be, make sure you're specifying those, right? So that's a contraction. We'll do that tomorrow maybe. All right? So the green plant is tall, yet it isn't the tallest plant. So see how with conjunctions, like yet, and descriptions, like green and tall, you can take a really simple sentence, the plant is green, and make it a much more descriptive, much more complete sentence, right? The plant is green doesn't really tell us that much about the plant, right? We don't really know that much about it, and frankly, it's kind of boring, right? Think about it if you were just having a conversation with someone and they talked like that. They talked in such simple sentences. You'd think that person was maybe a little bit weird, right? The plant is green. Okay, can you tell me anything else? Right? That's not how we talk to each other. The green plant is tall, yet it isn't the tallest plant. So now we know it's a pretty tall plant, but it's not Mr. Newton's tallest. So now we know quite a bit about the plant. Maybe more than we wanted to know, but we know that the plant is an important part of Mr. Newton's day, at least today. All right, what's our last fanboy? Let's get through the last of these so we can keep going with our sentences. Remember, it's tied for or, so if anybody guessed it, remind me, and you get a little treat, okay? So. Now this one's great because frequently you can use so in conjunction, see what I did there? With your other conjunctions. So you can even go deeper with this, right? The plant is green, the green plant is tall. It's tough to read upside down, guys. The green plant is tall, yet it isn't the tallest plant. What can we do from here? What can we use so for? I'm going to fill it in. You can steal my sentence for this one. If you're still going along with your sentences, I want to hear those and I want to see them. But you can steal mine for this one, okay? The green plant is tall, yet it isn't the tallest plant. So what? So is a great conjunction. It's a great fanboy because you can expand on any thought that you've got going. I'm a big fan of using this one in sentences like this because you've explained something, you've described your plant, you've specified and expanded your sentence to make it more descriptive, but now you can keep on going, right? So for me, the green plant is tall, yet it isn't the tallest plant. So it is a medium, right? Because if it's not the tallest, but it's still pretty tall, right? If you're shopping for pants and you got the small pants and the large pants, medium would be in the middle. So it's a medium plant. So it is a medium-sized plant. We're all going to be pretty tired of the plant, I know. But we see how we started really small and simple. The hat's yellow, the desk is heavy, the plant is green. Now we have all our descriptors put together. The green plant is tall in our first clause. We've combined our sentence with a conjunction yet and expanded and completed our thought with another conjunction so. So see how we start with a simple sentence, and just by using descriptors, modifiers, and conjunctions, and of course, the all-powerful punctuation, which we all love so much, right? We've put together a much better, much more complex and complete sentence. So when we're talking about writing, especially if we're talking about writing paragraphs, and you hear me say, or you see me write on your paper, we need to expand this. That's what I'm talking about. Not just filling in words just for the word count so that you can get your paragraph as long as it needs to be to get credit. Although this isn't a bad way to do that, to be totally honest with you guys. It's not just about that. It's about making your writing more descriptive and frankly better. Rather than writing something simple, you can tell your audience, whoever it may be, myself, your buddy you're writing a letter to. Do you guys still write letters? I don't know. I still write letters. The green plant is tall, yet it isn't the tallest plant, so it is a medium-sized plant. We know so much more about the plant. It's a much better sentence, and I've made a complete description of this poor little guy here. I feel like I've been a little rude to him. I could have been nicer to the plant. So does that make sense? All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and erase this, so make sure you have this down. Okay? Make sure we wrote down all our conjunctions, all our fanboys, for and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Right? Remember, you can do a little song with that. You can come up with a different creative way to remember your fanboys, but those guys are your friends. The fanboys are your friends. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do, take your sentence, and it doesn't matter if you got every step down. I know that we went pretty quickly on that. Take your sentence, your first sentence, super basic one. The plant is green. And I want you to keep that first sentence written on your paper. For step 2, so we'll call that step 1. Step 2, I just want you to add one descriptor, okay? Add one descriptor. And again, I'm so sorry about the handwriting. I'm doing my best, all right? So we're adding one descriptor. So for mine, it was tall. The plant is green and tall. For your third step, remember what we did? Right. We expanded the sentence with conjunctions. And I'm going to write fanboys. Expand your sentence with one of your fanboys. You can use any one of them. And again, remember with my sentence, you can change it slightly so that it fits better with your conjunction that you chose. You can choose any of them. It can be for, and, but. It doesn't matter if you're zigging or zagging, right? Just choose one of them, and you can combine both of your descriptors. If you went with descriptors, if your desk is heavy and wooden, how could you combine those? The heavy wooden desk, right? You can put the descriptors before your object, before your subject. Remember when we were talking about subjects? Again, we're doing one thing at a time. We will cover subjects again. So remember, you can put those descriptors before the subject and then expand with your fanboys. All right. So we have 3 sentences written down now. For our 4th step, what did we do with the plant sentence? We got our green plant, we got our tall green plant, and we got our tall green plant, yet not the tallest plant, right? So for that last step, either with another descriptor, but I would challenge you guys to add one more thing using another conjunction. Right? So remember, I did yet and so, but you can choose any one that you want as long as it works. So if you have your heavy wooden desk, and you maybe use but, you have your heavy wooden desk, but I can still lift it, right? If you're really strong, don't do it right now. If you're really strong, you could still lift the desk. So you could use so for that too, right? The desk is heavy and wooden, but I can still lift it. Throw in another comma, don't forget a punctuation. So the desk isn't that heavy. It's pretty similar to the plan sentence, right? And you can do that with any simple sentence that you start with. So the next time we're writing a paragraph, think about, is this a simple sentence? Could I add to this sentence? Could I make it more descriptive? And this is a really simple way to do that. So the assignment for today, take your simple sentence, add a descriptor, put them all together and expand it with a fanboy, then add one more fanboy to make your complex sentence. All right. Any questions?